Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry. Max is with me. All right, and we're a duo today. On to our Leicester reaction. Woke up New Year's Day, slid on my lucky shirt, which has not proven to be lucky lately. Just throwing that out there, okay? Crawled onto the couch with an enormous cup of coffee while my kids are zooming around with all their Christmas toys and all that, and watched the most non-league football match I think I've seen. It was the sloppiest, just nasty, guileless, skillless, just an ugly match. That frankly didn't deserve a winner, I didn't think.
It was very physical, I thought. That's the way it came across. Not much to admire technically.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, connecting. I mean, Leicester wasn't connecting passes either. I just watched so many misplaced passes. Just a lot of that's what I'm thinking here, Max. Is it was either they're mentally fatigued, physically fatigued, or both.
They definitely will be. I definitely agree with that point, because it wasn't us and Tottenham had the most hectic Christmas period in terms of fixtures. I don't know the dead amount of games in a certain amount of days, but yeah, some of the players did look leggy out there, didn't they?
When Andre Gomez kind of doesn't look like himself, I feel like there's a problem. You know what I mean? Because I'm sorry, the man is perfection itself. So whenever he's misplacing passes, something's up. I thought we looked just like a tired squad. I mean, Leicester did too. They looked crap as well. They didn't look good. They just had a forward who took advantage of the one good chance they had.
Well, I think that is the blueprint of how to beat Everton now. Pretty much, you stay solid and compact in your lines. Deal with the balls that we swing into the box. If you hit us on the counter attack, you're going to hurt us, and Jamie Vardy certainly did.
I want to talk about cracking through, those compact defenses later. Because I feel like that's a good thing to finish with. All right, because that's the main talking point here. Besides the fact that we've got a fatigued squad, all right, and we don't have much squad depth. Anybody play well? In your estimation?
No, I've got to be honest. No, it was the poor showing all that.
That's a dire verdict, my friend. That is, no, everyone sucked.
No, but it's one of these. No, because after this result, everyone's kind of throwing up red flags all over the place now, aren't they? After a bad run, Everton Twitter's a very, very dark place to be. You have overreactors, you have underreactors, and I don't know. I prefer to stay clear of it all. But I certainly do agree that there's area for concern. You shouldn't not be concerned if your team haven't won in something like 8 games. Since that Merseyside derby loss. You hate to say it, but you could. The correlation is there to be made that since we got beat, we haven't looked the same.
It's hard to ignore that connection, Max. I think it's something that had to be brought up.
And the Burnley game just looked like a reaction to the Tottenham game. So, I don't think the Burnley game was any kind of indicator of how we crack on. Certainly after the Brighton game and now Leicester, games that we should be winning. And people are right to say these are the games why we're not taken seriously. I don't think we've beaten any of the teams in the top half other than Leicester away. So, yeah, that's why we're not taken seriously, because we don't turn up. I was thinking about that game from an international fan's perspective. If you're a foreign fan who in love with the appeal of the Premier League, this very much the modern football approach. Look at these top 6 sides where they get more of the international fans. If they're going to whoever, Chelsea against Brighton or Manchester City against Leicester, they're expecting their team to win, and that isn't the case at Everton, and that is why we are not considered among the elite, I feel.
Yeah. I think that's really difficult to argue. I'm just like, I don't really know if there's another side to that. It's pretty straightforward. You mentioned something off camera, because yes, we do talk sometimes when we're not podcasting. All right. But you mentioned something about you didn't look back at Silva's record at Watford about when it began to nosedive. Do you feel like, if you're just going to give something off, from your gut, do you really feel like it's a Silva thing, or is it a lack of depth thing, or both?
It very well may be both, because something that I noticed during that game was just before we conceded, Tom Davies was lined up to come on. I assume it would be in the place of Andre Gomez or Gylfi Sigurdsson. As soon as that goal went in, he changed his mind and went and chose Bernard instead. So I agree that Bernard offers more on the front foot than Tom Davies, but that indecisiveness was in front of my eyes to see. I don't want to slag Marco Silva off any more than what he deserves, because as we say, the squad that he's inherited, some still belong to the Moyes era, and you got some that still belong to the Koeman era. You've got some that that played under David Untworth, Sam Allardyce. The year in transition shout is bandied about a lot, but it still is essentially until he's got 2 or 3 windows under his belt and can mould the squad into the with the personnel that he wants, because depth is something that we do seriously lack. And maybe that obviously, if he gets the players in that he wants, that would probably aid his, how he gets the players to understand and play out his philosophy. Because something that we seem to be coming away from a lot of these games where we've lacked is, we're repeating the same thing over and over and over, throwing crosses into the box, and we're just not getting anywhere. Up against Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, we're not going to win headers. It's as simple as that. And to see us not have a plan B, that is slightly worrying, and I think that's something that we need to consider with this Lincoln game coming up. This could be a game where we could experiment. We obviously shouldn't take it lightly. The top of League Two, and as you say, they've got a good history in the FA Cup, but we need to show some more tactical flexibility, because going 1-0 down and going gung ho, bringing on as many attacking options as you can, it's showing that it's not getting us results. So we're going to have to look at something else.
You definitely get concerned when you look at the fact that teams' plan against us is usually to park the bus and kind of play back, get compact, and then play on the counter. And then you think about the fact, what's Lincoln going to do? They were going to do that anyway. So that's something we've had trouble with, is just cracking through. Our ability to be able to crack through in the final third and be more effective, do you think we're only going to start seeing improvement on that when new players come in this month?
I think so. I do, because that right-hand side, I just don't think the service is up to scratch with the left-hand side. And I think the moment that we bolster our options on that right-hand side and look to getting a centre forward in there, that will be able to get on the end of these crosses that are getting swung into the box. That's when I think we'll start seeing the improvements. It's in the hands of Marcel Brands again, I feel, to identify these players that will improve us, because we've brought in so many players over these last 2 or 3 years that just haven't improved us, and they just seem to stagnate our progress. I think Brands has proven that he's got an eye for the correct transfer. So to see his first January in England will be interesting, because I think every other person will tell you January isn't the most ideal time to be bringing players in, but when needs must, you've got to, and I certainly believe we do.
I'm really hoping we bring in some sort of backup for Sigurdsson, somebody who could come in the last 20 minutes of a game because our attack through the middle is like non-existent. The idea of having some kind of tricky center attacking mid to be able to help us combine through the middle and actually start to give us options. Our flexibility on our attack is exactly what you're saying. It's really frustrating. It reminds me watching Martinez in terms of we would just get and then we just pass around. This, we're getting, and we're just crossing it in. And immediately they head it out. Sometimes we get it back. We cross it back in. It's literally rinse, repeat. And it's a frustrating thing to watch, the idea of having attacking diversity. I think, personally, that is a big key to us actually starting to get being more effective in the final third. That final third is just, it's on lockdown.
Yeah, I personally, an observation that I made after Jordan at Leicester game, I don't think there's enough movement off the ball whenever there's a player in an advanced position. Spurs did this excellently, and I think Leicester did it really well, closing our player down when he receives the ball and tries to pick his head up, shepherding him, and not giving him the option to pick his head up and find the forward pass. That happens a lot, and of course, it's the Premier League. It's fast, it's physical, but you've got to be able to deliver. You've got to be able to be good enough and be quick enough to pick your head up, find the ball, and move. Basically, because it's really is frustrating. I wanted Dominic Calvert-Lewin to start that game against Leicester. I know a lot of people now come out and said after it, Richarlison's definitely our best striker. But I don't know. It's his performance kind of summed that up for me. He didn't look like he interplay was up to scratch. He was very isolated in that centre forward position with not enough runs going in behind, and it was frustrating. And I don't think we should. It's not the end of the world. We definitely need to look at this January window to improve. But as I say, we just need to make sure that we do.
Yeah, and we also need to be able to bench Richarlison when it's time. It can't be a thing where we only have a few wings available. That's a problem. When we're sitting here trying to figure out who's going to go in on the wing, what is the deal with that? I mean, I know Lookman's either injured or he's, leaving. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah.
So we're already short. But we need to be able to have a player who's not having his best game and say, you know what? Rest for a bit. Let's bring somebody else in. When you've got Walcott having a dud and Richarlison, doing the same, Bernard gave us a little bit of, at the very least, energy and creativity, but we didn't have much of that at all, and we definitely weren't bringing it off the bench. It was an awful, awful view. It was just it was not fun. Even as a neutral would have hated watching that. Just ugly football.
Yeah. Try being an Evertonian, getting there for 12:30 in the afternoon.
I still envy because I still have the envy because I don't really care what happens. I still would want, but at the same time, I also have a lot of respect because you guys are just carved out of wood going to every one of these daggone games. It's.
It was one of them. It was kind of in the balance because I woke up late as well. I was in the balance. Do a go? Do a not go? Can I lift my head off the pillow? And I thought, you know what? Get a shower, sort yourself out, and go. And boy, did I regret it afterwards.
Oh yeah. I'm just glad I got to bed at a decent time the night before. I'm assuming you stayed up later than I did because I'm 90 years old. So yeah, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I just had a night with the wife, went to bed about 12:40. Yeah, everything was okay. I still drank. I was still worried about being hungover, but you know what? I was all right. I wasn't miserable. I didn't hate myself. You know what made me hate myself? The game. There you go.
Yeah.
I was in a poor mood the rest of the day. I was a jerk. That just happens. I cleaned the hell out of my house though. Hey, there's the good thing.
Yeah, every cloud.
All right, let's move on and let us never speak of this again. Actually, one more thing. Sorry, John Joe Kenny verdict, really quick.
First half, he was all right, but then he just had the field day down that left hand side. Ben Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira just kind of similar to.
But it was only part his fault. He also has to get help there too.
Yeah, that was something that I did notice. Walcott had to deal with Chilwell, and Kenny had to deal with Pereira, and it didn't go well.
For the most part, Kenny not the worst player on the field though. Did all right, you know. It was not bad. I finished and he didn't stick out as being like, oh, what a weak link, you know.
Unlucky with that shot as well.
Yeah, I'm sick of unlucky. Can we get over unlucky, please, for Christ's sake? Jesus. All right, enough. We're not digging into this again. That's it with our Leicester reaction. I threw up a little in my mouth. That was my reaction. All right, so if you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We would sincerely appreciate it. If actually we hit 1,400 before the new year, so huzzah! I think we're trying to gun for 1,500 by the end of January. So goals and aspirations, if you will. If you want more Max, look at his Twitter, because he's everywhere, man. All right, omnipresent Max. All right, check. He'll let you know where he's going to be, but he's always on the Toffee Blues website, giving his written analysis. So check that out. All right, and that's it for the Leicester reaction. We're going to move on to the FA Cup preview match with Lincoln. So, bye.